So we have a ton of awesome games releasing on a Game Pass this March and April, guys, and more announcements of some amazing games recently announced that I'm excited to talk about. I'm Sunny here at Xbox Central, and let's kick this off with NBA 2K24 that landed on Game Pass some time ago, and I have a love-hate relationship with this franchise, and NBA 2K24 is no different. As always, you won't find a better basketball simulation game on the market. If you go into quick play and you just want to play a simple basketball match, this is extremely immersive and it's very fun. Outside of that, there's also other modes that you can do. There's the My Team that has you building up your own team with these cards that you collect and purchase, and you'll be playing against other players. But the big thing that most people play is the My Career. This is where you take a rookie and you guide him through a basketball story and live your superstar dreams. Now, where the hate part comes for me is the microtransactions and the snail pace that this game lets you improve that player. You really have to pay to get your player to be good in any sort of reasonable time. Outside of that though, playing this game against other players is insanely fun, and I'll admit I have played so many hours, actually thousands of hours in this franchise over the years, but I have to admit that I have quit because of how bad these microtransactions are, so just beware. But this is a great game if you just love basketball, and I am glad to see it on Game Pass. So a game joining Game Pass this month is The Quarry. This is one of the better horror games to have released within the past few years, and here you play as 9 different characters where a summer night has turned into chaos and locals have turned on them, and there is these sinister creatures after them. Now you have to make tough choices between each of the characters whose stories are all intertwined in this web. Now, while you control each story, any character you play can actually be the hero or someone who just tragically dies. It's a very gripping story that blends horror and decision making on the fly that leaves you at the edge of your seat. Now, another cool aspect of this game is you can play online multiplayer where other players can control other characters and it can kind of all come together. Another neat aspect is some of these characters are actually played by some really high level actors like Eva Longoria, David Arquette, Brenda Song, Ariel Winter, and a lot more. So this is a high quality game. This does land on March 20th on consoles and cloud. So Evil West joins Game Pass this March, and this is an action-packed adventure set in a vampire-infested US where you assume the role of an agent working for a top-secret vampire hunting institute, with your only goal being the eradication of this terror looming from the shadows, and you have the entire fate of humanity resting in your hands. Now, I love how the developers have combined together the old-school Wild West theme with modern technology to create this immersive and narrative-driven adventure that promises to keep you hooked for hours. You can choose to fight alone as a lone ranger, or you can tag along with friends to slay these bloodthirsty monstrosities using your lightning fueled gauntlet. And guys, the third person action gunplay is extremely fun and really gets you into the action. The game also has thousands of positive user reviews, and this is a great one landing on Game Pass this March 21st on console and PC. So we have a promising looking 4X strategy game that released at the end of 2022 in Terra Invicta. This is where an alien invasion has crippled humanity due to fear as they're about to take over, and it's divided the world into these 7 ideological factions, and now you choose a faction and you try to take control of the other factions, but also take back your way of life against these aliens. Now, I think it's an awesome premise. The strategy and the gameplay elements have you making some tough choices, but also the goal is not only bringing everyone into the fold with your plans, but building a massive ship to actually ride into the solar system and potentially get away if you need to. It's a full sandbox strategy title that has you researching tech, building even space stations beyond Earth, and there's really many ways to tackle your playthrough. This arrives on PC on March 26. So I was a little bummed to find out we're losing the first Hot Wheels on Game Pass this month, only to be surprised we're actually getting Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 instead. This released recently in October, and there's new tracks now to dive into with more challenging biomes, things like riding on the grass or sand. There's new driving moves like a new lateral dash and double jumps. But if you're unfamiliar with Hot Wheels Unleashed, this is an awesome arcade racer that I've gotten to enjoy, and I just feel like it's just pure fun. You race with the Hot Wheel cars like the mini car toys maybe you might have played as a kid like me, and there's like a whole new story mode on here that I think is pretty fun. But one thing that I really love doing with this franchise is using and playing the local split screen and racing against my little brother. So if you like a little bit multiplayer action, you're gonna like this. You can even create new Hot Wheel cars yourself and have your own custom ride. This one releases soon on cloud, console, and PC. So the ever controversial Ark Survival Ascended joins the Game Pass lineup, and while I haven't played Ark Ark in a while, it seems as though Ascended is basically the original Ark with upgraded visuals. Now specifically, this game's now in Unreal Engine 5. Now it has a new upgraded physics system and everything just looks more realistic. There's a lot of quality of life revamps across things like the UI, there's new dinosaurs, there's a tracking system, and a lot more. There's also cross-platform play, which I really love seeing, and in general, if you happen to be kind of unfamiliar with the franchise, it's a survival game, only the major twist here is there's just a ton of dinosaurs. This has been a beloved title for about over 10 years, I think, and if you like dinosaurs, I really think there's nothing better on the market, and now this comes with a complete current gen makeover, which is cool. This lands across PC, cloud, and Xbox Series X and S on April 1st. So the racing sim F123 is already on Game Pass, but this April 2nd, you'll be able to play this in the cloud. I've talked about this game before. It's one of my favorite racing sims and one that I just couldn't recommend more. It's also available on consoles. So a game that I've enjoyed in the past and is a super unique experience in Super Mind Control Delete has you shooting down enemies in first person in slow motion and doing like a variety of shots and tricks, and it kind of makes you feel like you're in an action movie who's this total badass killing people left and right. Now as the game progresses, you do gain some skills and hacks and things that help you cause even more awesome mayhem. There is boss fights, and this is a fun one, guys. You can beat it around 13 hours, so it's not a very long game, and if you just want some mindless, not think about it fun, I really think you'll enjoy this one when it lands on April 2nd on cloud, console, and PC. Now another sports game available today is MLB The Show 24. This is a franchise that I do love, and I've spent hundreds of hours of my time last year on my Xbox Series X, and I'm hoping that this latest edition will keep that momentum going, hopefully with some new faces, some new modes, but the same amazing gameplay. Now from what I've learned about this game so far, we can expect to see over 400 new animations. We're talking new throwing motions, pitcher animations, and a bunch of gameplay tweaks as well. Plus with modes that let you play as legendary baseball players from the past, or just doing Road to the Show and bringing up a rookie to a baseball legend. I think this game is looking pretty strong this year, and we won't have to wait long to find out, because as soon as this video's done, I'm gonna head right over and play this on my Xbox Series X. So I've talked a lot about Lightyear Frontier. I'm excited that the game's finally closing in on its release. It's a promising farming simulator that innovates the genre by introducing exo farming. Here you play as space explorers trying to find a new home on an alien planet that looks absolutely breathtaking, to say the least. Now unlike most traditional farming sims, you're not just growing crops, there's a lot that you can do here. Firstly, there's a whole open world filled with different areas that you can explore, collect valuable resources, and uncover secrets about alien civilizations, and even building your own structures using the game's awesome crafting and building mechanics. Even the farming itself is pretty in-depth. You got a variety of alien crops, each requiring a specific environment and resources to grow, but the good news is you can also play this with your friends, and the game lets you play cooperatively with up to 3 other players, but if you want to go totally solo, you can absolutely do that as well. Diablo 4 is also closing in on its release on Game Pass, and I'm finally glad that I get to enjoy this on my Xbox Series X. Let me tell you guys, Diablo 4 is quite different from the previous games in a few ways. For one, Diablo 4 does have a more interesting story, which is good to see, but obviously the combat and gameplay are still the big focus, even though it's a little bit more methodical and slow paced in a few areas compared to Diablo 3, which some of you might not like and some of you may totally dig. However, everything else from the enemies to the game's environment, the voice acting, the story really makes up for it. Diablo 4 even brings back the series' signature dark atmosphere that goes very well with its visceral gameplay and unforgiving combat. This does arrive on Game Pass on March 28th, and I totally recommend if you can play this with friends, as at times it does heavily favor group play over solo runs, but if you're like me, you're still going to enjoy collecting and min-maxing your characters to the fullest. Now Open Roads is a story-driven adventure game where you play as a young woman named Tess who accompanies her mother on an emotional journey to the past. The two hit the road as they travel to visit their old family properties in search of lost memories and hidden secrets. Now Open Roads is all about exploring this unique bond between a mother and her daughter through meaningful dialogues, these catchy animations, and of course these moral choices. Open Roads is set to launch on Game Pass on March 28th. So this April we have the game Turbo Golf Racing. This is a game that combines the precision of golf with the epic thrill of racing for an exhilarating 1v1 golf duels. Here you get to drive around in your sporty cars as you try to complete the course with the fewest shots possible, and you'll be utilizing things like power-ups and tactics to really outplay your opponents. And if you're looking for something more thrilling, Turbo Golf Racing also does feature an 8-player online race mode for some epic showdowns of golf battles across a wide variety of challenging golf courses, or you can run against the clock in a time trial mode, and there's really really something for everyone. Turbo Golf Racing has been in game preview since 2022, and it's finally ready to deliver a dose of its full release on Game Pass this April 4th. So the game Botany Manor is an exploration puzzle game that takes you all the way back to the 19th century, and in this game you play as a retired botanist named Arabella Green who loves spending her time researching plants. And you've got a massive manor filled with lush green rooms, and your task is to solve puzzles that result in the discovery of new and sometimes extinct plants. It's a rather relaxing journey that lets you explore this picturesque world as you try to find clues, you read books, you grow plants, and you help restore this place to its former glory. Botany Manor arrives as a day one Game Pass game on April 9th. So coming out this April is a game called Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. This is a modern take on the classic RPG genre that combines traditional turn-based battles with expansive exploration mechanics. Now you, the player, take on this wild adventure to save the world from chaos, and for that you get to choose from a massive roster of over 100 unique heroes, and each of them has their own skills and abilities. Eiyuden Chronicles looks amazing with its strikingly innovative art style that combines 2D characters with a detailed 3D world, and along the way you'll uncover the rich lore of the world and make choices that impact the outcome of the story. You'll be able to play this one on Game Pass for consoles and PC. Now another Crab's Treasure is probably one of the more innovative takes on the Soul-like genre that we've seen. In this game you play as a crab who's looking for his lost shell in a vast ocean world, but getting that shell back turns out to be quite the adventure as you constantly have to fight against enemies much bigger and stronger than you. Luckily your crab has plenty of skills and abilities necessary to survive this brutal ocean. I really think this game is great for players who are just getting started with the Souls-like genre. I feel like it has that right amount of challenge and fun, but that's not all. You've got a whole underwater world to explore, from colorful coral reefs to bustling sandcastle cities and even deep sea trenches. And if you're looking for your lost shell, you actually get to try over 50 different makeshift shells that protect you from underwater dangers. Another Crab's Treasure is set to come out this April 25th. I'm a big fan of strategy games that combine world building with historical warfare, and Manor Lords seems to offer exactly that and a lot more. It's a medieval strategy game where you take control of a powerful lord with the help of his people who wants to create a thriving settlement, and for that the game offers you this in-depth city building mechanic that really let you carve the land, build intricate structures, and create defense and a lot more. But the building is just half the work. As a lord of your settlement you'll have to tend to other affairs like going to battle with enemy kingdoms and raiders, and Manor Lords really shines in the battle department as it offers realistic portrayals of historical warfare. But you're not just fighting other settlements as well. There's things like hunger, changing seasons, falling economies, and a lot of different things that you need to manage. Manor Lords arrives on Game Pass this April 26. With that, we recently did get some announced new games at the Xbox Partner Showcase, and I wanted to check those games out, starting with the game Sleight of Hand. This is another highly innovative title that was recently announced to drop on Game Pass sometime next year, and it combines third-person action with tactical deck building elements to create this unique gameplay where you, the player, step into the shoes of Lady Luck, and this is a young witch who decides to go against her former coven after getting kicked out. And I gotta admit, the idea of combining card mechanics with third-person stealth action sounds really cool. Instead of simply relying on traditional stealth elements, you get to use a deck of cards, each representing a special ability. Things like scouting and teleportation to setting traps and blinding enemies. Every card offers a different strategic advantage. Sleight of Hand looks like a promising title that you will be able to catch on Game Pass for console and PC. So we have the game Altars. This is a narrative-driven adventure game where players assume the role of Jan Dalsky. This is an everyday worker who finds himself stuck on a distant planet after a failed landing. Now your task is to help Jan survive in this unknown world, gather resources, build structures, and find ways around this barren planet, and of course uncover secrets of its past. Luckily, Jan has found a way to create different versions of himself called Altars, and each representing a different life choice that he could have made. And depending on the choices that you make, these clones have different personalities and strengths and weaknesses, and you will need to make them work together in order to manage resources and grow food and build structures, and more importantly, find a way out of this brutal planet. The Altars doesn't have a fixed release date yet, but it will be available on Game Pass as a day one game when it launches. So Capcom's latest action strategy game Path of Goddess is making its way to Game Pass this year, and it looks promising. Path of Goddess comes packed with fast-paced combat, exhilarating battles, and a rich narrative inspired by ancient Japanese folklore. It's been on my radar since it was first announced back at the Xbox Showcase in 2023 due to its stylish visuals and hectic real-time battles. While details on this game's story are still pretty scarce, we know that Path of Goddess is set to drop you right into the heart of the battle between the moral and spirit realms, and from the looks of the early trailer, you will have to assemble your army, gather resources, and set your defenses and create battle strategies during the daytime to prepare for an epic showdown against the spirits at night. This one arrives on Game Pass for Xbox Series X and S, PC, and cloud. So the game Frostpunk 2 is a highly anticipated sequel to the fan favorite city building strategy game Frostpunk, which also is making its way onto Game Pass this year. Now this promises to deliver another gripping experience of survival and society management, but in a frozen world. Set 30 years after the blizzard, Frostpunk 2 puts you back in control of a dying metropolis that's running low on resources and high on greed for power. And Frostpunk 2 builds upon the first game by introducing new and improved gameplay mechanics, allowing players to build entire districts with different purposes and technologies and systems. And in this sequel, it's not just about braving nature, it's about managing the tensions and conflicts within society itself. If you love city building simulations, Frostpunk 2 is a no-brainer, and it's coming to Game Pass sometime this year. Another day one title that's confirmed for Game Pass is Creatures of Ava. This is a cute looking action adventure game where you play as Vic, a nature explorer who embarks on a wild journey to learn about the diverse ecosystems of an alien planet and try to save the wildlife from a rapidly growing infection that's turning these peaceful creatures into vicious monsters. And I have to say, judging by the trailer, it seems like a pretty decent game that fans of exploration and those who love some monster taming might really love. With that, I wanted to quickly highlight that Persona 3 Reload expansion pass is set to arrive on Game Pass here pretty soon. It brings some awesome new stuff like 30 hours more gameplay, a new extended scenario, and a lot more. We also have the Last Case of Benedict Fox Definitive Edition. This is going to have new secrets, enhanced exploration, fluid combat, and a lot more. These will be free updates for Game Pass users. And with that, as you guys know, we have games leaving this March. Go ahead and check those out on the screen. And if you guys want the very best Game Pass games you can play this 2024, make sure you check out that new video that's on the screen right now.